We begin this afternoon with a quote. One of our National Guard's greatest strengths as an operational force is that we're present in communities across the country. When you bring in the National Guard, you bring in the richness and diversity of hometown America. You will see how important diversity and inclusion is in everything we do because it allows the Guard to represent the communities Guard members serve. And it enhances the National Guard's ability to fight America's wars, defend the homeland, and build enduring partnerships. Those missions and the people who accomplish them define who we are. So the more we bring diversity and inclusion into our organization, the better we get every day. General Frank J. Grass. At this time, we'd like to welcome our Joint Diversity Executive Council Chairman, the Adjutant General of Mississippi, Major General Augustus Leon Collins, to deliver our commencement remarks.
I don't know what you're graduating from, but the commencement remarks are going to be short. But welcome everybody to our National Guard Diversity Workshop. I know, especially as I look at the ranks of the individuals we have in the room here, I know you could have been doing something else. I'm sure you got a lot on your plate. But thank you for making the time to come and be a part of this workshop, because what we're talking about here is so very important about how we allow everyone within our ranks to be included in the things that we have going on in the National Guard. You know, this is my first time to this facility, but it's the second postal facility that I've been to in the last 2 weeks. I actually had a meeting up at Potomac, Maryland, at the Bolger Center just a couple weeks ago. The Chief of Staff of the Army had his Senior Leader Readiness Conference up there, which I didn't know that place existed either until I went there. Another great facility just like this one. And while we were there, you know, the Chief of Staff made a point that I thought it was a great point. I never heard anybody put it that way. When he was talking about the United States, talking about our country. And he says our country was founded on an idea. He says it's that idea that makes us great. It's that idea that sets us apart from other countries. And that idea is that all men and women are created equal. That's what makes the United States great. And with that being said, I'm going to ask them to play. I got a little short clip. I played it for the group this morning, but I wanted to play for the general audience also.
I do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Mississippi against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
That I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the Governor of the State of Mississippi.
That I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office
upon which I am about to enter.
That I will obey the orders of the officers appointed over me,
according to regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So help me God.
Together we stand, shoulder to shoulder.
That gives you just a little flavor of what the Mississippi National Guard is like. And I'm sure the National Guards of all the other states and territories and the District of Columbia are similar to this. You know, we have people from a lot of different walks of life, all different age groups, all different ethnic groups, religious backgrounds, educational levels. But together, as we stand shoulder to shoulder, we're able to get the job done. And I wanted to show you that, you know, it's kind of refreshing when you get a new public affairs officer, because then you find out just how the other one wasn't quite as good. The one I got now is a superstar. I'll tell you, he turns out some really good products for us. But again, it's so important to make sure that everybody feels like they're a part of your organization. Now, I know every state has different programs that you have in your state that support diversity and inclusion. In Mississippi, we set aside a day every year. Matter of fact, it's coming up later this month where we have our Diversity Day. I think one year we had diversity based on racial makeup. You know, we had Caucasians, African Americans, Hispanics, whatever, all the different categories. Last year, we had our Diversity Day. It was broken out by generations, by ages. Now, I had never thought of it that way, you know, but just goes to show you live long enough, you learn something new. Now, one of the things that day helped me with is that me, at my age, I might not understand what a 18 or 19-year-old kid, we may not see things exactly the same way because of the different times that we were actually born and the things that we have experienced. So we had all these different generations. Now, we didn't have anybody, I think, in our crowd from this particular generation, but you know, we always hear folks talk about the greatest generation. Those were the people who were born between 1900 and 1924. You know, they lived through a Great Depression. Their resources were very scarce, and most of these people had some pretty hard lives that they had to endure. After that, we had what they call the silent generation, the lucky few. They were born from 1925 to 1942. One thing that you'll find about this particular generation was that they held on to the jobs that they had. They didn't move around very much. Some of these actually fought in World War II. A lot of them fought in Korea, and a few fought in Vietnam. Most of these people died within 50 miles from the place where they were born. They didn't move around a lot. Then you got my generation, the baby boomers. You know, we were the ones, everybody said it was kind of like trying to push a pig through a python. You know, it had this big bulge because there was a lot of us. We're categorized as being the privileged group, you know. We grew up in a time of affluency when the country was doing rather well. We are part of what they call the me generation. We kind of look out for ourselves. After that, you got Generation X from 1965 to 1980. This is a smaller group. Anybody know why they're a smaller group? The birth control pill. That's right. Hey, I'm passing on this information. I'm not making this up. They're a smaller group because birth control was introduced. During this time, now, they had some challenges. During this time in our country, we had an increased number of divorces. Divorces on the rise. This group is categorized by they have a lot of latchkey kids. Why? Because the mother started working before the mother stayed in the house. With this group, the mother, you know, more went to college, they got educated, they got good jobs, so the kids came home after school and were staying by themselves. Unfortunately, they came of age during the time that we had our crack epidemic in this country. More of them ended up in foster care. They were also the first MTV generation. The next group is the millennials, born from 1980 to about 1995 or so, sometimes called Generation Y. Now, this was kind of the first digital type generation. And when I say digital, I'm not talking about what we have now. They came along when the personal computer was introduced, when we had pagers, when we first got cell phones. Remember I said cell phones now. But now these are also, this is also the group that you would say are the trophy kids. You know, you play soccer, everybody gets a trophy. You know, it wasn't a situation where you had to earn a trophy anymore. Everybody got the same thing. Now, one of the things that you'll find with this group is they switch jobs kind of frequently. They'll move around a good bit. And then the last category that I've got to talk about is Generation Z. Those are ones that were born between about 1995 up till, well, there's another category that I won't talk about because they're not old enough to talk about them yet. Now, right now, this is the largest group because a lot of the other groups are starting to die off, but this is the largest group. Now, they have been associated with the internet from birth. They were basically given a cell phone when they came out of the womb. They will come of age. Now, this is a pretty important group to us right now because they will come of age because of during the time of some of the issues that we talk about now. They will come of age during the same period that we have same-sex marriages in our country. money is more important to them than it would be for the millennials. Now, one of the things that came out of our meeting last year when we were meeting, when we had our diversity day, we talked about money. And you know, one of the facts of information that was given is that, you know, the silent generation, not literally, but they kept their money in their mattress. Baby boomers put their money in 401ks. Generation X, they've got their money in the bank. The millennials, they got their money in their front pocket. Yeah. Because they think about things much differently. I care about how much money I have saved up. You know, my kids, as long as they got money in their front pocket, they're good to go. They don't really care. So what's important to them? We talked about wealth, and some of this information came from studies from colleges and universities around the country. When I asked is wealth is important to you, the baby boomers, 45% of them said wealth was important. Generation X, 70% said wealth was important. The millennials, 75% said wealth was important, even though they only keep the money in their pocket. I don't understand that. Now, politics, right in the middle of a big presidential election. Keeping abreast of politics, baby boomers, 50% of them said that was important. Generation X said 39% of them said it was important. Millennials, down to 35%. They don't really care about politics. So, how do we make sure we provide the right opportunities for all the different age groups or categories that we have inside our ranks? We got to be able to understand them, because it's one thing to recruit them, and that's hard enough. Everybody understands how that is. But to me, I think it's even more difficult to retain them. You've got to have something that's going to make them want to stay in the National Guard and stay in uniform and continue to serve. So how we do that is a question I'm hoping that all of you can answer and give me the recipe that I can take back to the state of Mississippi. So, you know, as we go through the next, you know, today, tomorrow, and then the half a day on Wednesday, be thinking about that. You know, how do we connect with all the people that are in our ranks? How do we provide something to them that makes them feel like they're included and want to stay inside our ranks? And then how do we give them opportunities to be successful? Because everybody wants to be successful. So how, as we come up with ideas about how we do that, I'll be happy for you to share those with the group, and we can get it out across the 54 and see if we can't make our National Guard even better. That's your commencement address there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, General Collins, for those insightful opening remarks.